Hi, Tim. I can see you, Tim. How are you?
Excellent. How are we doing?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you.
This was very nearly the first topless interview in BBHC live in history.
Ooh,
'Cause it's
no, don't do that.
not this early on a Sunday morning.
People have just had their breakfast.
Yes. Okay, and I think we should start perhaps by explaining why we've had to move from our slot this afternoon to a morning slot, because something rather exciting is happening for you today.
Yeah, I get to race.
What are you doing and where?
So there's London Interclub Challenge at Lee Valley, and the youngsters ran yesterday, so I was up there watching my daughter. And then today it's the oldest, well, if anyone knows, under 20 and above, but I'm racing with the slower male and some of the female runners in the 400, including one of the Blackheath girls actually.
So it's not split by age group; it's split
No,
by.
it's all done on time. So yeah, I'm racing. I don't know her, but a girl called Morgan Swift, who's a Blackheath member, so that should be fun.
Okay. Will you be Blackheath vest for the occasion?
In fact, I already have it on under my t-shirt. I'm ready to go.
That's prepared for
the
race. Brilliant. And if we talk about kind of your links to Blackheath, how did it all begin? Obviously back in the mists of time, but how did your...
It all started in black and white. It was, well, basically, my sort of interest in athletics started watching the Moscow Olympics when Co, Ovett and Cram were all racing. And I was about 8 at the time and nagged my dad for years to be allowed to go and do some athletics. And friends of mine were at Croydon at the time, but eventually I did a cross-country race, actually, and a couple of old school friends from my primary school were there, and they were training with Ian Dibbins at Blackheath, and I nagged my dad again, and he said, yeah, let's go and try it. So I went down there. I don't think either of them...
It's often the way. In fact, it's very similar. When I went down, the person that got me down to Norman Park, obviously my sister competed, but the friend of mine, I think he stopped about 3 weeks after I started coming.
I think I probably put them off.
Yeah. And then you obviously kind of went through and with the age groups. So when you were a youngster, were you always a 4 hurdler and a 4 flat runner? Or...
I was. So literally that first session, I went down and I said, look, I like Co, Ovett and Cram. I'm thinking sort of maybe 800s or something like that. And Ian took one look at me and said 400. So fair enough, I'll give it a go. And so I did 400s for about 4 or 5 years as my main event. I did do a tiny bit of hurdling in the sprint hurdles, but not a lot. And then, ironically, an athlete called Mark Richardson hosted an interview who went on to, well, he broke the world age best for 15-year-olds at the time with 46 seconds. And then he went on to run 44.3 when we were older. And I did train with him as an adult. But I looked at him and thought, I can't do that. I need some other challenge. There's no way I can run as fast as him. So I'll stick some barriers in the way and see if I can jump over those and do all right at that.
So your hurdling career is basically down to Mark Richardson being really fast.
Yeah, he was too fast, and so I thought I'd try something else that he hasn't done yet.
And then, so when you, we obviously saw from the advertising, you had some success at English schools. Which event was that in, and which age group?
That was 4 flat, so obviously I was reasonably quick. So I won the 4 flat in '86 at Portsmouth. Went to 2 more schools, but unfortunately in sixth form I was either ill or injured, so I didn't do either of those. Probably my best run was actually the following year as a first year under 17. I came 5th, But as a first year, that was pretty good, so I was happy with that. But yeah, I mean, there were some really quick guys then, and like I say, when Mark Hope interviewed, I kind of thought, right, let's try.
Yeah, you've got to kind of consider your event very carefully when you're racing against someone like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, and you know,
Um,
I never thought I was going to be world class, but the hope was always to be an international if I could, and I never quite made it. But Mark was clearly a different breed, as were a number of others. So yeah, a bit of a different challenge came into view, and also we had the advantage at the time Trevor Llewellyn was coaching at Norman Park, and so I joined as well as still training with Ian. I joined in with some hurdle sessions with him and a guy called Lawrence Rogers when I was about 17, and so they were quite good fun. And yeah, took to the four hurdles not bad.
and you mentioned there kind of illness and injury. So obviously that had quite a big impact on your kind of athletics.
Yeah,
Kind
unfortunately.
of moving forward. So what kind of
Oh,
effect did it have?
so, well, it's the reason I'm still running probably, which is kind of positive, I guess. But having done well sort of through university, I took a year out after university, had some really awful temping jobs, data input stuff for about £3 an hour, a lot of them. But it was a means of trying to see how far I could get, and got all my PBs that year, which was 1995,
Yeah,
and then 96 had a couple of injuries, but still ran okay. And then 97 got in the shape of my life, training down with Mark Richardson actually, because I moved back down south at that point, and a few others in the group. I was the slowest 400-meter runner in the group, running sort of. I was probably in about 48 shape at the time, although I never got to prove it. And yeah, mid-April 1997, started feeling a bit tired, and went from someone who was doing sort of uh, probably training that could have said I could have run 51 something for hurdles to not being able to jog a 10-minute mile in the space of about 6 weeks. Just got more and more tired, and ended up having 4 years out ill. It was a bit of a shame, really, but there we go.
yeah, I can fully imagine. And has that given you kind of a perspective on, as you say, it might be the reason you're still running today?
Well, yeah, I mean, I really enjoy competition, and always have done. And I think, if I'm going to be honest, I'd probably be 20 stone and sort of a lounge lizard by now if it hadn't been for the fact that I like competing. Because the idea of going to the gym just to keep fit is not appealing for me.
Yeah,
So I probably would be competing at something, but the fact that I missed out on what hopefully would have been the peak years of my career kind of I still want to do it. I think a lot of people, if they've achieved what they want to in their 20s, it's kind of they can take a back seat after that and sort of settle
I
down
think
to
that's
coaching or whatever.
yeah, that's something in a lot of masters athletics, especially. It's not often the really top guys that kind of in their 20s that go on to be the kind of top masters. It's
No,
often those
I
people.
mean, it's the will to still want to put your body through it, I think. And, you know, Masters is great. I really, really enjoy it. But it's not the same sort of high pressure competition environment. It's only the really, really big Masters races that give the same sort of buzz as I'd have got at even a
Yeah,
sort of Southerns in the past, that sort of thing. You know, I've only done one international competition just because Masters pay for all their competition and stuff, and being a coach doesn't exactly pay the best. So I've done one, and that was the one and only time in the last few years where the buzz has been there. You've had to call up room, you sort of got guys around you and nerves, and I'm kind of thinking, oh, I feel at home here. This is great. I mean, I didn't do particularly well, but I felt great, and you could see people biting their fingernails and all this sort of stuff. So that was fun, but yeah, I think it's a different buzz, and I absolutely love the Masters scene, but it's not quite the same.
yeah, because obviously alongside the masters, you've competed for many years in the British League.
I have, yeah.
I think Pat Cownan did an overview of how many points, and I think you were a bit annoyed that some of the points from the 80s didn't quite make it in there.
No, that's not quite true actually. There were a few missing mine, but my first match was actually in the 90s.
Oh,
I got invited to compete in the 80s, but the first time I was invited was during my GCSEs, and it was in Edinburgh, so it was a bit far to go in the middle of my exam.
yeah,
And then after that, sort of, I went travelling, and as I say, I was ill a bit during my sixth form. I had glandular fever, so I kind of missed out until I was at university. So I think 1990 it was either 91 or 92 was my first one. So I've got about a 30 years span in there, but it's not too bad.
And that's up until fairly recently. Did you compete
Yeah, I
last year?
can't remember if I did one in 2019. I should know. I definitely did one in 2018 at Windsor. Um, but you know, if all the younger guys keel over, I'll be there. I'm ready to
Yeah,
have a go.
the experienced head keeping everything
Well,
together.
I know so Pat knows that whilst I definitely can't run particularly fast anymore compared to the youngsters, he knows I'll be consistent. And so if he needs someone to do 62, 63 rather than sort of take a punt on someone who could be anything from 60 to 80, then he
Yeah,
might go for me. But other than that, yeah, I'll let the others have a go.
someone who can safely get over the barriers is the first thing
Yeah,
when
that's all. I
hurdling.
mean, I've been trying to convince you for years to have more of a go at it, but the
I think
consistency's not quite there yet.
yeah, I think flexibility was never my strong point, and now I'm getting more towards veteran athletics. I think it's only getting worse. So maybe it might be a renaissance when I hit masters. I might.
Yeah,
Is,
have a
at
go.
what age do the barriers start getting lower? That's when. That's
Yeah,
when.
no, I haven't got there yet. I've got another 18 months or so. It's 50.
And talking of the kind of Southern League as well. So when I was kind of 17 and kind of flitting in and out of the junior league team, not able to get into the events that I was like training for,
Yeah.
I came into the Southern League, and you were the team manager at the time.
Yeah.
We had a Division 3 and a Division 1 team, and it was very much an emphasis on, oh, you're a youngster, okay, what do you want to do, and getting everyone in. So how important do you think competitions like the Southern League are for bringing people
I
through
mean,
in the club?
to be honest, I think uh, I'm not a. I like all levels of competition. It doesn't really matter what it is. I think the competition you want to be as appropriate as possible for the people doing it. But I think it is quite important to try and steer people towards the fun that we can have in team competitions as opposed to just going along and doing an open meet or even a BMC or something like that. You get so much more from the team competitions than you do from just turning up, trying to get a PB and going home. I mean, you can go for your fast times in the league matches. You can help the team out. You mix with the whole team during the day rather than just sort of turning up on your own or one or two other members of your group or something. And yeah, so wherever possible, I like people to get involved in club athletics as much as they can. I think obviously, I've got two hats in that I'm head coach at Kingston and Polly as well as being a competitor for Blackie. And it's the same there. It's try and do as many of the competitions available to you in the team as you can, and hopefully you'll have lots of fun with it.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. Because you mentioned being a coach. What for you is the best thing about coaching, about your kind of role as head coach and as a coach for Momentum?
Okay, well, if I start from being nice, I kind of fell into coaching. In that year I took out after university, um, the guy who was coaching me in Sheffield took a little bit more of a back seat, and he was helping me with the hurdles, but I was kind of setting all the 400 metre running, and we built up a group around it. But I wasn't a coach, I just sort of was a 400 metre runner who was helping out. And I quite enjoyed it, and that was quite good fun. And when I moved down south again, I, I was wanting to train with a guy I trained with in Sheffield. He lived near Heathrow, I lived in Redhill. And so we said, oh, we'll meet halfway in between. And we're back to that scenario, someone lasting about 6 weeks, and I'm still there 20 odd years later because he didn't last long at all. But there were people down there who wanted a bit of help with their 400 metre running, what have you. So I was sort of helping out a few people. And then when I gave up my proper job, still working in a pensions company, I needed something to keep my brain active as well as trying to get fit and healthy again. So I was 28 at the time. So I set up my mental sports website and was coaching online, took the qualifications, etc., etc. And yeah, the more I've done it, the more I've enjoyed the role because you're helping people fulfil what they want to fulfil. I'm not saying as though I'm the most selfless person out there, but it is a lot of fun and very gratifying helping people achieve times and that sort of stuff that they never thought they could. And it's true from people who literally come to me doing a walk jog type program to start with, to people who are right up at sort of top national level.
Yeah, so your coaching is the full kind of range of beginner to high elite.
Yeah, I mean, my group itself is a sort of a higher end group, but we've got other groups within our setup which I coach. I do a hurdle session on Sundays for all abilities. we've got adult sessions. I do one in Guildford, which is very much a sort of novice to intermediate type level. We've got other groups on Sundays, and then we've got various groups at the track, sort of that feed into my group or into sort of that multi-event group, that sort of thing.
When I spoke to this, kind of links into your kind of role as coaching and your kind of ideas about this. I spoke to Steve Timmins a few weeks ago. We spoke about how you would encourage a kind of youngster to pick athletics, and not that as a teacher, myself or Steve would ever say to a child, do athletics, don't do football, don't do rugby, and you try and get them to do what they enjoy. But how would you pitch athletics as a choice as a for someone to get involved with?
Sounds stupid. I never really try and sell athletics hard. You know, we get lots of kids come down, and we sort of try and give them the best time we can. And I saw a bit of the interview you did with Steve, and I agree totally that kids should be doing the full range of sports, trying to learn as much as they can, sort of good coordination if you're playing a graphic sport, or building a team atmosphere if you play football, rugby, etc. And the ones that like athletics, they kind of gravitate towards doing that more and more as they go along. I mean, there comes a time when you're in your very late teens where you kind of have to make a choice. And I think looking back, that's one of the reasons I got ill in the sixth one, was that I didn't make that choice. So I played sort of first team rugby, first team hockey, did athletics, was in the cross country team, played a bit of basketball, and it was too much. And eventually my body just said, yeah, you can't cope with this.
Yeah, that's very similar. I did the similar and same, like first year at uni, was still playing rugby, was still playing football, was still training for athletics, and ended up breaking my leg just because I was running from one training session to another and putting different stresses.
Yeah,
and
you're a bit tired when you sort of, you might, I don't know how you did it, but if you just sort of play football and you go to move from one direction to another, if you're tired, your muscles don't cope, you collapse a bit or whatever. And
I think it was getting tackled in an American football training session by someone that, had I not been tired, wouldn't have caught me.
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, I would have been half a step ahead. But I think that's, it's a big thing. Like a big selling point for athletics with me when I was a kid was the more I trained at athletics, the better I was at rugby and football, just through the physical.
We've definitely helped a lot of kids over the years who come to us. Well, I've trained some quite high levels people in other sports as well for their speed, and it definitely, if you're fast, you're better at other sports.
Yeah, I think it's a huge benefit. And something kind of that I also spoke to Steve about was obviously having professionally kind of a view of athletics as a whole. Now, I spoke to him specifically about kind of the throwing events and how perhaps at Diamond League and things like that, they're not given the same exposure as, say, the sprint events, the glamour events.
Yeah.
If you were kind of Seb Coe and you were looking to, okay, we need to push athletics on, make it more commercially viable and attractive to kind of people who may not be the die-hard fans, what would you say could be done at kind of global and maybe regional, national level?
I mean, globally, I think it's really tough. I think there's so many disparate views, and I think there's quite a jaundiced view of athletics in the sort of general population from, oh, there's another drug case, all that sort of stuff. They've got to get stricter with that, but at the same time, general sort of governing bodies and other sports have to get stricter too. Because I strongly believe that there's no more problem in athletics than lots of other sports. It's just lots of other sports aren't looking for the issue. I think probably in this country it's more of a television debate. I don't think the sort of coverage on lots of the TV channels is that aspirational. You'll watch they show a lot of the Grand Prix with the same people trudging around, particularly without one to sound harsh, there's a dozen Kenyans running around in the same vest doing a 3,000 metres or something. The whole personality thing isn't really my thing, but you definitely need to be able to identify with people that you want to be like. We see all these, I know I'm being harsh on the Kenyans, but you see sort of a dozen Kenyans racing, and even someone who's a die-hard athletics fan, I'd struggle to name more than two or three of them. Whereas, I guess in my event I'll know more, but there's more variability. You've got an American, you've got a Saudi Arabian, you've got obviously Warholm from Norway. So there's a lot more variety in there. And I think for people to aspire to that level, you also need to show the next level down. So, the only competition that ever gets any coverage below Grand Prix level in the UK is the British Trials, and that's it. And I think sort of just showing more. You could even sort of try and get televised British League, even if it's not going to be on BBC One or anything, but still get it on the red button or something like that. Other people can see what's going on. Try and encourage people in to watch the British League matches. So whilst football obviously is the favourite sport in the country, we've got thousands and thousands of people going to every match every week when we're allowed to. Athletics, no one goes to watch athletics, even at the top national league level, unless they're a coach or a family member. And I think, if you went into potentially local schools and said, look, there's this big meeting, lots of the top athletes in the country are going to be here this weekend. It's the NAL Premier League, which I think is really good because you have men and women there now, so you can get people to watch. Kids come in for free, but you can sort of, you can open the cafes and whatever, so there'll be money to be made for the club. And just get more people knowing what's going on at the next level. I've always said I think there's a bit of a sort of a lack of a link between junior and senior athletics. So whilst we've not managed to do it very well at Kingston, and I don't think Blackheath have done it brilliantly, we don't really link up sort of getting all the juniors to come and watch some of the National League matches, because then that's what ideally they should be aspiring to do in a few years' time.
Yeah. I think that's a big thing is getting that link across the whole club of there's the progression pathway, and I think it's a lot easier in some sports like rugby and football where you get to a certain age and then you've got the junior but you've still got the senior, whereas in athletics if someone's at 16 running 48 seconds then they can bypass a whole kind of they can bypass the junior team, be straight into the NAL team.
Yeah.
It's difficult to have that progression without going, okay, who do we favour, the senior athletes, or do we just go completely on time?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that they should skip the junior. I'm saying that it's almost the sort of the. I assume that these academies are still running. We've got an equivalent type thing at Kingston called Kestrels. It's encouraging some of those guys who are 9, 10, 11 to come and watch even a junior league match. They're creating role models. So I've talked to a lot. I mean, over the years I've coached several athletes, sort of aged 18 to 22, who have achieved something really good. We've had sort of British champs at distance events cross countries. Girl last year won the Bucks 400 metre hurdles. We've had Welsh internationals, all this sort of stuff. And when I speak to them and say, you do know the kids will look at you and they sort of think, wow, I want to be like them one day, which they don't do for the likes of me. And even we've got a guy at the club who's British, being world champion in the Masters age groups. We're too far removed. We're too old for the 8, 9 year olds who want to be like us. But the ones who are in their late teens, early 20s, if they've achieved something really good, they're role models. And they're all like, oh, no, I don't see that. I just do what I do and it's great fun and, I love doing it. But they don't get that the kids are looking at them thinking, that's what I want to be. And, I had the same when I was younger. I mean, there were athletes in the Blackheath team who I won't name because I'll embarrass them, but they were the ones I wanted to be like. When I was 13, 14, 15-year-old, and I was looking at the sort of guys in the British League team, it's like, that's what I want to do. And
when you see them ending at the track, it's particularly with the middle distance guys, you see them coming past you all in lane 1 and 2, flying around on these really hard sessions. As a kid, you go, oh, they really want to do that.
Absolutely. I saw a bit of an interview Nick Brooks did with Phil Sessamon the other week, and I know he's up in Leeds, but were he at the track, loads of the kids watching would be like, wow, look at that bloke, really fast.
Well, they see him at park run and or some of the guys, and that's why I've kind of always said that at park run, I know a lot of those guys may not be taking it as a serious run, but if they wear a Blackheath vest and they're running 15 minutes at the front of a park run, it's just it's aspirational, as you say, for anyone kind of looking at that.
Yeah.
I think that's all we've got time for today, Richard. I'm going to put you on the spot now. What time are you looking for later on, based on training in lockdown and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, training's been going okay, actually. We've been lucky in that where we live, we're about half an hour from Basingstoke, which is one of the few tracks that have opened up again in May. And the body's kind of in one piece, sort of. So my best time in the last few years is 59 for the flat four. If I could go anywhere near that to start with, that'd be great. I mean, I think a few races in, I'm in shape to run around 57.5, 58, but I doubt it'd be today. Just do the best.
Oh, well, we look forward to hearing about a sub 60 on the Instagram story later on.
I hope so.
Brilliant. Okay, well, thank you for talking to us this morning, and
Nice
best of luck with your race later on.
Thanks very much. Speak soon.
Cheers, Richard.
Cheers then. Bye-bye.